speaker before our break this morning is another one of our sponsors, Mastering Delegation. And something that I talk about frequently in the Amplify course, something I talk about frequently at the Elite Academy board meetings that we have, is get good at delegating. I even talked about that in my 7 Steps to Freedom, which a lot of you said was your favorite session of the first day of the event, because it's like I'm doing everything myself. But getting good at delegation is not an easy thing, because we've been burned before. We rely on someone else, we trust them to do it, and then they let us down, so we just say to ourselves, you know what? I'll just do it myself, right? So put your hands together and clap, 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 clap. Give it up for Regina Ascension.
Hi guys, good morning, happy Friday. So back in 2020, in the middle of a pandemic, I helped start a medical home health agency and hospice agency. This was the 3rd time I've done this, but it's a pandemic. People are disappearing, things are getting shut down, pure chaos. You guys remember the dark days, right? And a lot like you guys, I traded in my 40-hour work week for never-ending, non-stop work. I wore every hat, I solved every problem, because like he said, if I don't do it, who will? For 16 straight months, I worked like that. My health took a hit, I was losing hair, I was gaining weight, my relationships were falling apart, and to be honest, I didn't know what joy felt like anymore. Then one day my husband had enough, and he told me, I'm taking you away from all of this. And so as soon as we could, we went to Dollywood. Anyone from Tennessee? Love it. He packed us up. He literally had to drag me out. And for the first time in over a year, I tried to unplug, but I couldn't. And I see a lot of that happening right now. All of us that are paying thousands of dollars for conferences. But guess what? I'm right outside. I see so many people running outside to take a phone call. Or sometimes I've seen people the entire time they're on their laptops. So this is a picture of us at Dollywood. I hired someone before I left. I trained them, but things weren't going smoothly. My phone wouldn't stop buzzing, calls, texts, questions. My new hire didn't respect my boundaries. She had no empathy that this was the first time I was on vacation. And then in the middle of it all, the woman that I hired and trained for 3 weeks, she went to lunch and never came back. So that's me on a bench because my kids were yelling at me nonstop to Mom, please put your phone away. And I was so sad, I was so frustrated that I needed to find somewhere quiet, and I cried because I was so frustrated, and I passed out. I hate this picture because my kids took a picture of this and they make fun of me, but I realized that even though this was my breaking point, it was also a turning point for me. I realized that delegation wasn't something that I failed at, but it was something that I had to learn. It wasn't about finding someone to just hand tasks off so you can vacay. It's about finding the right person that actually shares in your values. Delegation, you guys, it's not just about losing control, or it's not about losing control. It's about finding and making space for things that truly matter. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So this story isn't just a personal journey. It's a universal lesson on leadership and growth. As we gather here today, we're reminded that success doesn't have to be a lonely journey, but it does require to build strong teams, to cultivate trust, and empower others to share in our vision. Today, that's what we're going to explore. The art of delegation. How to develop strategies that align with our goals and values and create the space needed to focus on strategic priorities. If you want to transform challenges into opportunities for growth, then thank you guys for being here. If you want to take back your time and build a company that you don't grow to hate, then this mastermind is for you guys. So let's get at it. A lot of what I'm going to share with you guys comes from three main sources. Reading countless business books, getting myself into rooms like this and being surrounded by the smartest people that I can find, and also the 18 years of hands-on experience that I have starting and growing healthcare businesses. After crying myself to sleep on a bench in Tennessee, I realized that something had to change. And so I started my own virtual assistant business, Ascension Business Solutions. And I spent the last 3 years perfecting how to support home care owners like you guys and their teams. From 2022 to 2023, we grew an average of 627%. This wasn't beginner's luck, you guys, because last year we grew another 447%. By focusing on delegation, building strong teams, and also being very, very process-oriented, we scaled our company from just having 12 VAs to having the privilege of providing life-changing opportunities to nearly 150 VAs. Today, I'm proud to say that we serve nearly 75 home care agencies from Hawaii to New York. And by keeping you guys, my clients, at the center of everything that we do, using mistakes as a challenge to innovate, as an opportunity to innovate, we've earned the trusted badge of approved vendor for some of the largest franchises in America. I am not sharing this to impress you guys, but to impress upon you the power of delegation. It is the single most important skill that's allowed me to achieve this level of success while also serving my clients like you guys. So if you're not yet convinced, let's bring in the big guns. So I'm a big believer in learning is earning. And a lot of what I'm going to teach you guys comes from 3 of the most impactful books that I've ever read. And here are some of the key lessons that have revolutionized the way that I think and do business. So has anyone read the 80-20 principle? It's great. So Richard Cox says that, and this is backed by studies, years and years of studies. He says that an astonishing 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Again, 80% of your results come from 20% of your efforts. Remember the 20%. The problem is that entrepreneurs, not just entrepreneurs, but sometimes your management team, they're focusing on the 80% that does not move the needle, right? These, what we call time vampires, energy vampires. But delegation allows you and your team to focus on the 20% that actually moves the needle, things that grow revenue. You guys that are beginning in your company, owners that are doing it all yourselves, what is your 20%? It's cash flow, right? So that's your 20%. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Anybody read this one? It's amazing, right? He says that you don't just hire people to get things off your plate. You hire people to buy back your time. You guys, you can read this on your plane ride home. every time I drive. I think I read this book at least once a year. But what he's saying is that time is your most valuable asset. It's non-renewable. Money will come and go. But we must outsource low-value tasks. You are no longer paid to be a doer or to do things, but to hire smart doers. The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber says that most small businesses work in their business instead of on their business. But to grow, you need systems and processes that allow your business to thrive without you being involved in every single detail. Delegation isn't just helpful, it's essential, you guys, to building a business that doesn't rely on you 24/7. So everyone in here that's like, gosh, I can't unplug, I can't get away, I'm drowning every single day, 7 days a week. Please read this book. By embracing the principles that we're going to talk about today, you guys, you'll not only scale your business, but you'll reclaim your time. Who wants to have dinner with their husband uninterrupted for once? Go to your kids' soccer games. Go on a girls' trip. I love girls' trips. That's what I do. You're going to reduce your own burnout. You're going to reduce burnout for your top players and create a company that thrives with or without you. So another thing, did you know that the top millionaires and billionaires, they have this forever student mindset? Oprah, for example, she dedicates like 4 to 5 hours of her day to read books every day. Why? Because it just takes one good idea to change everything. And so I want to share with you guys one of those ideas. It's called the buyback loop of audit, transfer, fill. And this idea has allowed me to level up again and again and again in my businesses. So when I started my business, Ascension Business Solutions, back in 2022, and to be honest, pretty much all my life, I had this GSD mentality, get shit done. But you guys, I have to admit, this is something that we have to get away from, okay? Because hard work is only going to get you so far. So once I proved my idea that using VAs was a big hit, I got buried. Emails, calls, meetings, hiring, social media, onboarding, back-to-back meetings all the time. And my company stalled. My company's growth stalled because I was too busy doing everything instead of building systems and teams. I realized I wasn't running a business. My business was running me. The lack of streamlined processes made me the bottleneck of my own company. And I was so stuck in this hard work mode. But here's how I turned it around. I implemented the buyback loop of audit, transfer, fill. First, I started auditing my time, and identifying what I could maybe delegate. Then I hired for these key roles to take ownership of them, right? Ownership, this is important. When I did this, I effectively replaced myself every 3 months. Every 3 months, replacing myself. Maybe for home care, it's every 3 months, maybe it's every 6 months. Then I brought on an operation manager. She was a game changer because instead of me having to build SOPs, standard operating procedures, for every single one of my clients, she trained my VAs on how to build SOPs themselves. Then we implemented end-of-day reports, end-of-week reports that we sent to our clients that helped them with transparency and accountability. Then as my business grew, I continued the loop. I hired a success manager because he did onboarding, something I didn't really like doing, and it took up so much of my time. Then I hired a recruiter, hired faster and better VAs. I hired an HR manager who focused on retention, because you guys, retention and recruiting are not the same thing. They're two separate jobs. And this HR manager, she built the most amazing training programs that were specific to each one of the roles. But here's the key. Each hire freed up my time that allowed me to focus on strategic priorities. Again, my 20%. Like what? Building power partnerships. How many times did you guys hear that, right? Coming here to events like this. I don't necessarily love speaking up here, but I knew that if I wanted to help my company grow, I needed to learn how to do public speaking. I needed to get over my little insecurities and get up here and try not to throw up, right? But every time I could transfer a task to someone that could do it faster, better, and with more passion, again, I filled up my time with high impact activities that drove revenue and filled me with joy. Today, I'm laser focused on strategic planning and how to become the best VA company in America. My team can execute ruthlessly, allowing me to focus on expanding into, I want to get into the UK, I want to get into Australia, I want to get into Canada. But only I can do that from my company. So what is it that only you guys can do for your company? Now, you might be wondering, how does this apply to me? What's in it for me, Regina? Do you guys know what your 20% is? You know, you paid an operations manager $100,000. What is her 20%? You hired a business development girl or a man for $130,000. Sometimes that's what they pay. They cost. What is their 20%? But if they're stuck answering phone calls, putting out fires, just behind their computer nonstop, then how much time are they actually delegating or assigning to their strategic priorities? So let's go through the framework of audit, transfer, fill together. So success, you guys, it starts with intentionality. So how do we do this? We're going to do this all together. You have to calculate your hourly value, audit your time, then you transfer it. You either hire internally or outsource to a trusted partner. Then you empower your team, identify the whirlwind, and fill your time with high-level activities. So how do you calculate your hourly value, and why do you need to do with it? Again, your time is your most valuable asset, right? So do you guys even know how can we determine this? So write down your annual income goal. When I left the company to start my company, I was getting paid over $200,000. So my annual income goal has to be $200,000. Then you divide that by your work week, or how much time you want to work. If you're working 40 hours, times that by 50, then that's how you get your your value. So 200,000 divided by 40 divided by 50 equals $100. That is my hourly value. If you pay your operations manager 100,000, her hourly value is 50. So you got to ask your guys this question. Am I doing tasks that are aligned with my hourly value? Or are you doing things that could be easily delegated for 15? What about your top tier people? Are they doing things that are high impact work? Or are they stuck doing things that could be outsourced for much less? Here's a practical example. I don't like scrubbing my toilets. I don't even like folding my clothes. I'll wash my clothes, but I won't fold them for 3 weeks. And so what do? I paid a professional company that comes in every month. They send 2 girls, and those girls clean for 4 hours. It's $210. My hourly value is $100 an hour versus $26 an hour. It's a no-brainer, right? And I get that 8 hours back to do things that fill me with joy, like sleeping, eating, pretending that I like pickleball for my husband. So once once you have calculated your hourly value, I want you guys to audit your time and you please commit to this. So take out your phones, your computers, whatever, pick a time next week and name it audit your time. Commit to this, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. You could use a very simple table like this. You can determine if it's a high value or a low value. Write it down, all the activities that are taking up your time. Then you can see if it's something that you can delegate or not delegate by cross-referencing it with your hourly value. Then you want to transfer this to either someone internally or a trusted partner. So you can hire internally. These are things like your business development people. We can't do that. They know your industry. They know your territory. They know what the DONs are and how to get past them, right? Outsourcing is another good option because it's cost effective and it's a scalable solution. You can easily bypass really expensive You could easily bypass like really high salaries, taxes, overhead, and something that a lot of people don't think about, it mitigates risks like employee-related lawsuits. So once you have found your team, this is how you have to empower them. By trust but verify. One of the best things that I've ever learned is this thing called the 1-3-1 method. So when your team gives you a problem, like a hot potato, pass that back to them. Say, no, I hired you, but guide them. Say, 1, what is the one problem? Then give me your top 3 most viable solutions. And then give me your number 1 recommendation. What this does is it forces them to develop critical thinking skills, right? To critical problem solving, and it builds their confidence. So the 1-3-1. So someone says, Regina, I have a problem in recruiting, and they want to talk to me. I say, no, did you do your 1-3-1 yet? And if they didn't, I said, go back, talk to me later when you're done with this, right? 1-3-1 is so important. Then ask them to create an SOP around the solution that they found. Then have them come up here like I did and demonstrate to you that they understand the problem and using the SOP. Trust but verify. The another thing, identify what a whirlwind is. Chris with SwiftOps taught me this. He said it's these low impact but urgent tasks. If you guys are doing nonstop meetings, is that really worth your time? I'm not trying to get pulled into a meeting about fonts, about what's going to be on the newsletter. I'm not trying to, interview applicants or anything like that. That's your job, right? Another thing is that you've got to practice. So identify what the whirlwind looks like and be disciplined. Don't be like, oh, I could do that. I'll do that for you because it'll be faster if I do it. No, let the whirlwind pass you by, okay? Learn to trust the team that you built. Then fill your time with high value things, tackling these back burner things. SEO, right? Maybe it's time to switch from this EMR or CRM to another one that's better. Building power partnerships, attending industry conferences, but actually having the bandwidth to listen. Get off your phones. Don't take a call because you know someone else can take it for you. Expanding your services. Who does dementia care? Who has a post-acute specialized rehab program, right? Refining your brand and culture. So for example, you're struggling with retaining your caregivers. Is it because you don't have a care culture? And this is my favorite, of course, investing in yourself by mastering a new leadership skill, right? How can you motivate your team? That doesn't come easy, it's not natural, but you have to develop these things. So I want to say, you guys, true leadership is not about doing it all on your own, okay? You got to empower others to share in your vision. And this is how you create a force that is far greater than yourself. True leaders, they lift each other up and they delegate, multiplying your own impact. So you guys, let's delegate boldly, lead wisely, and let's watch your goals become a reality.
Because, I love another thing that, do that one more time, not for one more time, because what I love about these events, right, when I do my presentations are my presentations, right? And then the people who go after me, as I'm in the back, and I don't get to hear the full thing because I'm doing like 75 things behind the scenes. But I hear bits and pieces and I'm like, man, like this was exactly like back to that 7 steps to freedom, right? This is like, it was take like step, I think I said delegate, right? Or remove yourself from the day-to-day operations. And here's a full session on how to do that. You know, you saw the task tracker, right? And then I even talked about the $1, the $10, the $100 task. She went down and just said, now write it all out. She elaborated on it and told you exactly how to do that. There are tasks and responsibilities that we should be delegating to other people. I love what you just said about, you're here at a conference, right? And some of us, we have to keep constantly going out and taking care of phone calls because there's stuff going on in our operation. And I say this all the time, I lead Academy clients, you guys know at those meetings, I say it. If you can't leave your business for 3 days without getting contacted constantly, there is something majorly wrong in that operation. You should be able to, like think about it, like you're here at a conference, all right, to help you get better at your business. What about when you're on vacation? You should be able to take a vacation. If you can't take a vacation, there's some issues there. Delegating is how you handle it and overcome it. Another thing that you said too, it made me think about the image where they talk about, you have a jar. You have to get 3 big rocks, a bunch of pebbles, and then sand in that jar. A lot of people try to get the sand in the jar first, put the pebbles in next, but also you can't get the boulders in there. You can't get the big rocks in there. Instead, it's all about prioritizing. Do the big things first. Put those big rocks in the jar. Then you put the pebbles in the medium-sized things. Do those things next. Then the sand, you can just swipe it all in and somehow you get it all in the jar. So a lot of times we have these, and a great book that people should read is 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And I think it's the 3rd habit where, and I forget the exact name of it offhand, but it's the 3rd habit where he talks about prioritizing, put first things first. That's what the habit is. And he actually talks about how we get caught up in urgent things that are important. They're important, but they're urgent. And because they're urgent, we ignore the things that are important but not urgent. Important, urgent, crisis at the office. Important, not urgent, making sure I exercise and put good food in my body, right? But eventually it catches up with us because it was an important thing that we neglected, then all of a sudden now I got diabetes, right? And that's an example of an important thing that I neglected, and then this is the causality. So it's important that we do these things. This was fantastic. Give it up one more time for you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
All right.